Pop quiz, hotshot. What do you do when you're looking in your rearview mirror and there's the asymmetrical front end of what's been the baddest bike in the land since 2009 bearing down on you? You buy the newest, baddest bike in the land, Panigale V4. Beaver's not on top anymore. This baby is. I'm gonna tell you why now. Now in my intro I mentioned the asymmetrical headlights of a BMW. These are not asymmetrical, but they are nice in LEDs, much like the top end bikes. They're very, very nice and bright. We'll let you see what you've already outrun, really, in all the nice open road in front of you while you make everybody else pace you. But this is not just a set of headlights. This is not just a front fairing. It has functionality and everything else. As you see, you've got your winglets built in here. This is for your front and down force as you're outrunning everybody. It'll happen, trust me. And it's just, it fits the aesthetic, but there's a big reason why these are here. And racing is the name of the game. For, they say, production is based off of racing. Well, it's really the other way around, but you know, that's neither here nor there. These, they're on there so they can have the Moral Superbike, so they can run this bike, which they do a really good job on. Cowie was spanking everybody for a long time. Jonathan Ray can ride anything. But these full function so they can have them on the racetrack. Want to leave there in public? That's why. But also the front end of this baby, you got intakes right here. This is a monocoque chassis bike. It does not have a standard airbox, everything else. The tank, the engine, everything else builds the airbox. This feeds the airbox, which feeds that big old V4 that's out front. Now, V4, big, bad. What they use again in racing. But this is Ducati. It's always been L-twins, 90 degrees, everything else. Why are they going to the V4s? Well, Ducati is on the up and up. They are growing, which I was very happy to see. Now, when you get a bigger motor, heat was always the kind of thing with the Panigales, right? The first Panigale, 2011, there's your history lesson, all the way back in 2011. But they were, it should have been called Diablos is what they should have been called, because that bike was hot and they wanted to kill you. That's what the devil does, from what I understand. Well, that's always kind of been the case for each Panigale as it came up. This one's not so much. The V4 actually is a much cooler setup, where they built the fairings and everything else. Is why the bike looks so much different than it did before. They got to make room for all these venties and all this good stuff here. This pulls the air away from that big old V4, making 214 horsepower and keeps it off of you. So when you're in your full leathers, as you better be, this bike is way capable, you can be nice and comfortable-ish, depending on if it's a Bama summer or not. It's nice and hot here. But it keeps all that stuff away from you. They make them look good, little gills as they call them, but they all have a function. Everything on this bike actually does something. All the little parts in the motor, magnesium. The clutch covers, the oil sump, all those things are magnesium. It's very, very light. Try to make this what looks like a bigger bike, as light as, if not lighter than, the previous motorcycles. It's a pretty dang good job. He puts down that 214 really well. It's more comfortable than the previous bikes were, even though it's got a little bit more wider profile. Sometimes we like them wide, sometimes we like them thin. Thin, way to go, but they went and made the old thin profile, the whole silhouette work with the bigger motor on this thing. I think they did a great job. It's pretty. It'll be more comfortable as you look good doing it. I've talked a lot about makeup on this bike, and you see that they've rounded the exhaust right up under the rider seat. Again. Is it going to be hot? Again? Actually, no. It deals with the heat a whole lot better. Now it looks like the same. Your heat shielding on this bike is much, much better. The fairings I was telling you about up front, makes everything flow. Again, keeps it off of you, but puts it on the parts of the bike that need the most cooling. Air cooling in this case. Obviously, you can't liquid cool an exhaust. Yeah, you can. See, dude. But still on a motorcycle, you don't really want to do that. And when you get a aftermarket exhaust for this thing, it's all carbon fiber right there, man. It looks super groovy. Plus, it's a little bit better at keeping the heat off of you. But why do they tuck it in like that? They want to get these exhausts, you know. Some other manufacturers will not name right now, but it can be unsightly. It can be odd. It could be a statement if you want it to be, but they're Italian, they make their own statements. It tucks everything nice under the bike, keeps all the heat away from you, even though this is here, believe it or not, nowhere close to as bad as the old bikes used to be. Spot on. Riding pants, by the way. But, like I said, it looks good. It's designed for you and to make power. And look awesome too, by the way. There is, on this camera angle you really can't see it, but a fully adjustable rear shock assembly back there. You get preload on it. You get the damping on it, which is going to get the bike tuned to what you do. Like myself, 155 on a good day. Spring back there needs to be set to something different than a guy that runs 205, something like that. Even though this is not the S model, this does not have the electronic suspension, all the nicer stuff on it, you do still have the ability to go in there and change your damping, change your preload, make the bike to what you want it to do, and, you know, it's all there. And save thousands not getting the S model. If you can track the bike, S model's great. This makes more sense to pretty much 99% of the people that are going to ride it. The last thing I want to show you on this bike is the controls, your cockpit. The previous bikes, they had controls and they would do all this fancy stuff and everything else, but it was a kind of a bear to fumble through, and you got to figure out what's what. At night you can't see anything. You know, the TFT screen, which originates from my motorcycle, the Multistrada, as well as the switch cubes on that, also Multistrada. It's all backlit, it's all there. It's much more user-friendly than the previous bikes have. You can see where you're going. Everything has a little button here, and it tells you what it does. The previous, you don't have to guess. Everything's right there, and the screen on this thing is absolutely beautiful. Almost, as they say in the 70s, Technicolor, man, it's beautiful. But you can actually see what's going on. The backlit, it changes from night to day, and you can tell a huge difference, even going under bridges. Boop, 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 boop. Hey, I'm still working for you, by the way. But the interface that controls this bike is much more seamless and smooth. You can find everything. I'm a really big fan of that right there, because all the stuff that this bike will do, if you're gonna ride it, you're gonna use it. You're gonna be really appreciative that you know what the heck it's doing. And these are way better than the previous bikes. As good as the Multi, probably better actually. I hate to say that, it's a little heartbroken, you know, but the screen is crisp and beautiful, and it's not all, I dig it. It's pretty. You know you want one. Come and see me, Brooks, Big Number One Motorsports, and I will put this wherever you want it.